Hello, I am Kelly, and I have no idea what isolation protocol day it is. I know the last 2 or 3 videos I had made a mistake, and it's probably several days less than what I thought it was. I think it's like day 170, 169, somewhere around there. I'm just going to call it 170. I'll figure out the math on it next video, and so the numbers will be way off. But anyhow, I'm just going to say, hey, it's 170. It is Tuesday, and Tuesday is book day. Reading-wise, um, I do not have my Kindle handy, and I cannot remember the name of the book that I'm reading. But I'm also just about finished with Stevie Collier, and I cannot remember the other author's name, with I Am Mech. That is so much fun. Um, Space, science fiction, aliens, invasions. Mech is like a giant spaceship that's actually a robot that you fit into, and yeah, really interesting. Very, very fascinating. So much fun. Gets off to a really fast start, and great pacing throughout the book. The characters are so much fun. Um, Moron, yeah, uh, he was accidentally called Moron in the first scene, and in my mind, that has been his name. Boron, I think, is his real name, but he's always been Moron. Anyhow, yeah, lots of other characters too. It's a lot of fun. So, yeah, if you get a chance and if you like science fiction, check out I Am Mech, M-E-C-H, by Yanni something and Stevie Collier. I will put the link down there so you can look it up. Um, what else? I am still working my way through Sirens and Scales, which is about dragons and mermaids. It is an anthology with a lot of nice long stories in it. Uh, Total, I think, is something like 4 or 5 thousand pages. So it is sort of the equivalent of like 40 books. So, yeah, it's, well, maybe 30. But yeah, it's a lot of reading, and some of them are very, very good. So I don't even know if that one is still available. I got that one quite a while ago, and it was done as a fundraiser, I believe. So a lot of those are only available for a short time. So I don't know. I want to make a quick update on a couple of knitting things because I'm not going to have them much longer. These are the socks. Yay, I have 2 of them. They're finished. These are the socks that I'm going to be giving to my sister-in-law in a couple of days. I will be, actually, I'm not going to be driving. I will be riding up there with my nephew and his boyfriend, and staying for several days, maybe 5 days, I think. They were staying longer than I'd originally planned to stay, so my dogs are going to be boarded a lot longer. They're going to come back exhausted because, yeah, they play the dogs to exhaustion every day. My dogs love going there. They absolutely love going there. They can't wait to go get boarded. They all have their own private suites. Um, it's called a dog country, the Canine Country Club, on purpose because it is really nice. All right, so I was hoping to finish this sweater so that I could wear it while I'm up there, but yeah, this is where I had been so far. Very, very full bottom, um, fading type stripes uh, to the top shoulders, which are gray, and the sleeves. I am almost done with the sleeves. I have probably less than an hour to finish knitting the sleeves. The, of course, stockinette stitch curls up, so the sleeves are a lot wider than they look, but they're just basic charcoal gray with a wide band at the bottom in garter stitch. So, yep, I knit 2 sleeves at the same time to make sure that they fit, and they are set in sleeves, so I'm doing the top sleeve shaping already. So yeah, charcoal sleeves on a gray sweater. I'm hoping that it will be really nice. It's really too warm to be putting that on now. It's cool enough that I am wearing long sleeves and a vest over it, but too warm for a sweater. So yeah. What else do I got? That's it knitting wise. I have been working like crazy to finish those socks for my sister-in-law. She gave me the greatest compliment. Last time I gave her a pair of socks, about 2 or 3 years later, she apologizes, and I'm so sorry. I wore your socks so much that they got holes in them, and I can't wear them anymore. That is the greatest compliment ever. To be able to wear something so much that you wear it out means you love it. Yeah, my favorite jeans, my favorite clothes, I have worn them to death. So if it still looks new, then you're not wearing it. I am editing. Right now I am I'm just about to start chapter 18. Lots of edits on this section, and in fact, a whole section. I just glanced ahead a couple of pages, and I skip ahead a little bit too fast, and I need to work on a little bit of transitioning better. So this again is a rough draft. It's barely edited, and I'm going to try and remember to read what my daughter has added to it. I keep changing one of the characters' names back and forth, and she has a note in here, well, is it Meadow or is it Meadowlark? So I don't know. In my notes, it's Meadowlark, but then I crossed off the word lark. So probably halfway through it, I changed it to Meadow, but I kind of like Meadowlark better, so I'm going to keep it at Meadowlark. I'm only going to read a couple of pages because I'm already up to 7 minutes, and I have such terrible signal here that a 20-minute video takes me about 2 hours to upload. Yeah, it's that slow. And yet, I'm wearing another pair of glasses, mostly to keep my hair tied back. All right, so on to chapter 18. At this point, Reese has run away from the hospital when she overhears her social worker saying that she's going to put her in a group home, but at least she's not going back to the foster care home because, yeah, her former foster parents are in jail. So anyhow, Reese ran away from the hospital, and Tishka's chauffeur and Tishka happened to be in the hospital for some other reason, and they sneak her into the limousine and take her home, and she's been living there uh, since she snuck out of the hospital a week ago. Actually, no, she was in the hospital for 5 days, and now she's only been at Tishka's house for 2 days at this point, and this is a Monday, so she is getting ready to go back to school after missing a week. All right, so the previous night, Meadowlark came by, Thistle Meadowlark, also known as Thomas Field, uh, it came by and visited her the night before. Let's see. Reese was still in a great mood when she walked into the kitchen the next morning. "Oh, you look so much better, mija." Maria Luisa was making up breakfast trays. "Thank you, I feel so much better. Is one of these for Tishka?" When the housekeeper nodded, Reese told her, "Just set it on the table. I'm going to bring Tishka down." Several minutes later, the girls could be heard coming down the narrow service stairs. "I said I'm sorry. I tried to tell them not to come. Really, Tishka, I'm fine with it. You should have your friends over. I usually spend weekends with my friends, too." "Well, if there's no problem, then why are you dragging me down to pick up my own breakfast?" "Not pick up your breakfast. To eat at the table." The girls reached the kitchen where Maria Luisa was laying out their breakfast on the big wooden table. Reese continued, It's not normal to spend all of your time in your room. I'm sick of not having anything normal in my life. Normal people eat at a table, together, like a family. Reese bit her lip. The family bit was too far. Besides, if she was really a fairy, how normal could she be? Not normal at all, if she even thought that she really could be a fairy. Still, she was going to try and be as normal and as human as possible. Tishka grumbled but sat down. Not my family. I don't have much of a family. Not any more. Reese paused, the jam halfway to her muffin, which then plopped onto the tablecloth. What do you mean? Tishka shook her head. Later, just you and me, we'll pretend that we're family. We'll pretend to be normal. Maybe it will happen. Maybe aliens will come to Earth and knock down the Eiffel Tower with a cosmic trebuchet. That's the spirit. So, about the mall today. Oh, that's right, it's not Monday, this is Saturday. Don't spend a lot. Just get a couple of things to change up from purple every once in a while, you know? I think you'd look good in red or blue. And remember, you can't buy me anything. Not unless you really need it, I know. Pass the muffins. Reese looked down at the deep blue-green dress. When was she ever going to need a formal gown, especially a backless, floor-length, poofy, glittery gown? But Tishka had insisted that she would need it when her father got re-elected and they had to go to inaugural balls. She also insisted on backless, as it would show off her tattoo so well. Reese shook her head and hung the dress in the closet. The dress reminded her of how Mr. Fields had run his fingers over her wings. Wings? She better stop thinking of that as wings and think of that mark as a tattoo, in case she said the wrong thing in front of the wrong people. On Monday, they sat in the back of the limo on their way to school, and Tishka talked nonstop about what others would think of her new outfit. She had chosen a red blouse with blue jeans and white accessories. Reese thought she looked like she was campaigning with her father all dressed in red, white, and blue, and Tishka was wondering how many of her posse would be wearing red the next day. As she went through her group of friends, Reese smiled and nodded at what she hoped were appropriate places. She couldn't stop thinking about seeing the prince again. Prince Thistle Meadowlark, outside of school. Mr. Fields, in school. Ah, she knew she would slip up. She could almost picture herself raising her hand in class. Could you explain the division of variables with negative exponents, please, Prince Thistle? Except that she already knew how to work with exponents, negative or otherwise, and she wouldn't dream of actually speaking up in class. Reese! She jumped. What? O-M-G! I have been trying to get your attention for 5 minutes. What's up? Reese decided to go with as much of the truth as she could. This double life thing was going to take a lot of planning and practice. I guess I'm more nervous about going back to school than I thought. Well, nothing has changed. It's only been a week. It seems like much longer. Yeah, when big things happen all at once, that happens. Tishka looked thoughtful. She turned out the window and said more to herself. That happens. She was right. Nothing had changed. People were still doing things that had affected her without consulting her. She was going into the locker room when the PE teacher stopped her. Reese, honey, I know you won't be able to dance, and there are a lot of girls who wanted the dance segment, so I transferred you to hockey. Report to Coach Malcolm at the ice rink across the street. Reese held up her big yellow cast. Well, it's not like I can play hockey either. They need a scorekeeper. You just sit in a booth and push buttons when the ref tells you to. Scoot, dress warm. It's across the street and then down 3 blocks to the left. You can't miss it. So Reese spent the first period learning the rules of hockey and how to operate the computer that ran the scoreboards, and spent the second period writing about how much she hated when people made decisions for her. She'd already read the day's lesson and could even recite parts of the play that they were discussing. Romeo and Juliet. Not one of her favorites, but it was popular, so it was natural that schools would teach it. Probably because teenagers could identify with the main characters more than they could with, say, Othello. She got more and more nervous as the end of class approached, but when she walked across the hall to her algebra class, everyone acted as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't missed a week of school, as if she didn't have a big, heavy, glaring yellow cast from arm to armpit, from on her arm from armpit to fingertip. Well, except for Lizzie, who complained that Reese might not be able to draw the cover of the talent show program. Reese almost felt disappointed that nothing has changed. Even Mr. Fields didn't do or say anything differently, except that he was glad that Reese was feeling better. But then, of course, he couldn't say anything in class, she chided herself. He couldn't act differently. He wasn't supposed to have seen her in a week. When he walked around the class handing back the previous Friday's test papers, he dropped a thick stack of homework in front of Reese. You still need to make up Friday's test. See me after school today. Reese just nodded. Okay. Reese dropped her pencil. Excuse me. Lizzie dropped her pencil. Reese, you can't. We need you at the talent show committee meeting after school. Mr. Fields was only a few steps away. Reese saw him stop and tilt his head. He was looking around at the class while the class worked on problems he'd written on the board. Reese could feel the tension rising in him. I can't, Reese said softly. She knew he could hear her. It's a math test. Can't we just talk during lunch? Reese grumbled. It's not like your grade depends on one little quiz. You've got perfect scores on everything, and we have a really big problem. Come on, please. Reese shook her head. Then, for Mr. Fields' benefit, she spoke. I really do need to take the test. She saw Mr. Fields give a small nod. He must have been satisfied, for he continued walking around the room, checking on the other groups working on the math problem. All right, well, that's enough. There's a little bit more in the math class, and then it goes on to the meeting and so on and so forth. And yeah, so there's a lot of changes that I need to make on that. Uh, some, ooh, um, yeah, a lot of questions that I need to answer. Yeah, she puts messages on the back of pages for things that are too big to fit in the margin or between the lines. So, yeah, that is chapter 18 out of, I think, 30 chapters. So, coming along nicely, very, very nicely. I know a couple of the later chapters get to be very long, so I may end up having to divide those up. So, 30 chapters is kind of an estimate at this point, and like I said, this is a draft. It has not yet gone to my editor, so there's probably going to be a lot of changes. And that is it for today's edition of Whatever Day It Is Isolation Protocol and Reading Tuesdays. Alrighty. Oh, one more quick thing. Because I will be out of town for 5 days, I may or may not be able to post another video. But at this point, it will probably be next Tuesday before I'm able to post anything again. So, yeah, catch up to you later. Thanks for subscribing. Bye.